Hi boys and girls, today we're going to start an experiment called Walking Rainbow. First, you're going to start with 3 glasses or 3 empty jars. You're going to fill them up halfway with water. Okay, they should each be about the same, halfway. Okay, and we're going to start with the 3 primary colors. And I bet you learned in art class that the 3 primary colors are blue. We're going to put a couple drops in there. And then we're going to stir it. Yellow is another primary color. And we're going to stir that. And the other primary color, besides blue, yellow, is red. I'm using like 6 drops of food coloring. Okay, we have our primary colors. So we're going to put them in a triangle formation, leaving enough space in between each pair for another jar. These 3 jars will be empty. Okay, we're going to put them kind of close together. Sort of looks like a tree. 3 and then 2 and then 1. So in between the blue and the yellow, you're going to have an empty one. Between the yellow and the red, you're going to have an empty one. And between the red and the blue, you'll have an empty one. Now you're going to need paper towels. So I get these little paper towels that you don't use very much. So I would use 2 sheets of these at one time. But most people would just say that this is 1 paper towel. But since I have the little skinny sheets, it's 2. You're going to fold it in half and then fold it in half again. And then in the middle, you're going to fold it in half this way and maybe one more time. Okay? And then fold it in half. So you kind of have a V shape. And you're going to put that in the blue going to the empty one, and then you're going to take another towel, fold it in half once, twice, and I believe we said a 3rd time. Okay, so it's skinny like that, and then you're going to fold it in half so you have this V. You're going to turn the V upside down, put it in the empty cup going into the yellow cup. Okay, and then we're going to need another paper towel, folding it in half once, twice, and 3 times, and then folding it this way so you have a V. Turn it upside down. It's going to go into the yellow and the empty cup. And then we'll need another one. We're going to fold it in half once, twice, 3 times. Make our V. Turn it over. It's going to go into the empty cup and the red. And then we're going to take another paper towel, fold it in half once, twice, 3 times. We're going to put it from the red going into the empty one. And now we need one more, folding it once, twice, 3 times in half, and then making it into a V. Flipping it over, it will go into the empty one and the blue one. So now every cup is connected. And I'm going to hold the video on top so you can see what it looks like. What do you notice is starting to already happen? Okay, you might notice that some of the water is being pulled up the paper towel. When you do this, start to watch that and see how the water is being pulled up the paper towel. Now that kind of makes me think of water flowing in an opposite direction as it usually does. Water is usually pulled downhill by gravity, but here the water is being pulled up into the paper towel, and that's through capillary action. So if you think of a tree or a plant, let's get one of these flowers out of here. Usually a plant has roots that go down into the ground. And when it rains and soaks into the ground, the roots pull the water up, and then it goes up the stem and into the leaves and into the petals. And that's through something called capillary action. It's a force of moving water upwards rather than being pulled downwards like how gravity pulls water. So you'll notice water being pulled up the paper towel. It's going against gravity because of capillary action. Now, the other thing I want you to notice is that the water is not falling off the paper towel. It's not dripping down to the table. It's kind of coming up here. Who knows where it'll go after that, but it's not falling down to the table. And that's because of surface tension. Surface tension is the pull that the water molecules have with each other. They hang on to each other. And that's why they're traveling together up your paper towel, because of surface tension. Okay, so you're going to leave this go overnight and see what it's like tomorrow morning. And I am going to tell you that by tomorrow, you're going to have an equal amount of water in every cup. And then it will stop traveling. And that's because when it's all at the same level, it will stabilize. And it will be the same. And water likes to stabilize and become the same level in every jar. Now, my question to you is, what color do you think the water is going to be in here tomorrow? In between the blue and the yellow, what do you think that's going to be? In between the yellow and the red, what color do you think the water is going to be in here? And in between our blue and red, what do you think that color will be? Our blue, yellow, and red are what we call our primary colors. And when you mix primary colors, they make secondary colors. So where you have empty jars now, tomorrow you're going to have jars that have the same amount of water as the others, but they will contain secondary colors. And I bet you might be able to figure out what those secondary colors are even before tomorrow. Now, let's say that you really enjoy this experiment and you want to do something else. You can take some more water and add food coloring. Maybe you want to make this blue for Exeter blue. You're going to add like 10 drops of food coloring. Now, I do want to mention that food coloring is a mess. It will stain your clothing. It cannot hurt you if you swallow it because you can put food coloring in food. That's why it's called food coloring. But it will stain your clothing. So when you put a plant in here, use a flower. Carnations are absolutely the best. This is a daisy. But before you put the flower in there, you want to cut the stem on an angle, not straight, but on an angle. Okay, and then put the flower in the water, and after a day or two, see what the petals look like. You can do that with all different colors. You could even take a thick stem and cut it in half up the center and put half of it into blue and half of it into red, into two different containers, and watch half the flower become red and half become blue. You can use flowers for this. As I said, carnations are the best, but you can also use celery. If you buy a stalk of celery at the grocery store that has a lot of leaves on it, just cut the bottom of the celery at an angle and put it in the water and watch what happens to the fluffy leaves on top after a day or two. And you will see capillary action at work. This is the force that pulls water up the stem of a plant. Okay, I can't wait to hear about your walking rainbows and maybe even some flowers and celery.